Even BrashearAssociated PressKids want candy for Halloween. College students want hip costumes and cool parties. And fantasy football players celebrate the holiday, too. Todd Gurley has been a beast, for example. Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz have been dressing up as potential MVP candidates. Matt Ryan, on the other hand, must be dressed as an anchor because his value continues to sink. Jay Ajayi is suddenly dressing up as an eagle and Kelvin Benjamin a bill. And Sammy Watkins must be a ghost because he straight up disappeared. So, how to value all of these players as you consider making trades to bolster your roster? With the weekly trade value chart, of course, as always, any players not listed have a trade value of 1. And may the fantasy points be with you. Trade value 11. Alan Crowhurst. Getty Images 1. Todd Gurley, RB, Los Angeles Rams 2. Kareem Hunt, RB, Kansas City Chiefs 3. Leonard Fournette, RB, Jacksonville Jaguars 4. Le'Veon Bell, RB, Pittsburgh Steelers 5. Melvin Gordon, RB, Los Angeles Chargers. We are halfway through the fantasy season, which means it's time to evaluate which players have been the most valuable to this point in the year. I use VORP value over replacement player, calculating how valuable it is to start a player compared to the best bench player. For a full explanation of how I calculate VORP, check out this article. Essentially, this allows you to determine value regardless of position by calculating how many points per week a player offers compared to the top replacement player at that position. Is Hunt, for instance, a greater value at running back than Deshaun Watson is at quarterback? Spoiler alert, yes. Here are the top 21 players in the VORP rankings to this point of the season in Standard Scoring League. Guest 1. Ezekiel Elliott 11.6 T1, Todd Gurley 11.63, Kareem Hunt 9.84, Leonard Fournette 8.75, Le'Veon Bell 7.96, Deshaun Watson 7.87, Melvin Gordon 7.78, Jaguars DST 7.19, DeAndre Hopkins 6.510, Russell Wilson 6.111, Chris Thompson 5.512, LaShawn McCoy 5.413, Zach Ertz 5.314, Alex Smith 515, Ravens DST 4.916, Devonta Freeman 4.8T17, Carson Wentz 4.7T17, Greg Zuerlein 4.7T19, Antonio Brown 4.5T19, Rob Gronkowski 4.5T19, Lamar Miller 4.5. That Elliott suspension could really hurt. Elliott was 11.6 fantasy points better than the top replacement player at the position per week, along with Gurley. That's a huge advantage those two running backs have offered fantasy players this season. And now that Elliott is likely shelved for 6 games, it appears he won't be available until the fantasy playoffs in Week 15. The top running backs again show their value, with 10 of the top 21 players coming from the position. Once again, it's vital you have an elite running back on your squad. Meanwhile, there is a ton of parity at wide receiver, with only Hopkins and Brown showing significant separation from the wideout pack. Quarterback has more parity as well, though Watson has obviously been a force of nature this season. However, tight end is somewhat depressing once you get past the top 3. Travis Kelce comes in at a strong 4.4, while Cameron Brate is next on the list at just 3.6. SOMEWHAT. Surprisingly, 2 defenses make the list, with Jacksonville offering top 10 value to this point. Less surprisingly, kicker value falls off a cliff rather quickly, with Ryan Succop next on the list behind Zuerlein at 3.0. Because you can flex defenses based on matchups with more ease than other positions, however, and because kickers rarely maintain significant value compared to the other positions, you won't find the Ravens or Zuerlein on the list below. Jacksonville remains on the list simply because they've been so consistently valuable. They are absolutely worth giving slightly more value to in trade situations. The less elite running backs remain more valuable than the elite options at any other position, and hence, elite running backs continue to hold the highest trade value. Trade value 10. Michael Perez, Associated Press 6, Antonio Brown, WR, Pittsburgh Steelers 7. Deshaun Watson, QB, Houston Texans 8. DeAndre Hopkins, WR, Houston Texans 9. LaShawn McCoy, RB, Buffalo Bills 10. Rob Gronkowski, TE, New England Patriots 11. Zach Ertz, TE, Philadelphia Eagles. It may seem odd to have Brown over players like Watson and Hopkins, who have offered a greater VORP to this point, but keep in mind that trade value chart is also about projecting a player's performance going forward. Brown has always been a consistent producer, so it's safe to bet he'll finish the season as one of the elite players in fantasy football. Ertz may seem like a stretch here, but remember that in standard scoring leagues, he's still HASNT scored less than 8 points in a week. That sort of consistency is priceless in fantasy. Gronkowski has a greater ceiling from week to week, but Ertz's high floor makes him one of the most valuable players to have on your team. People generally undervalue tight ends because they don't score as many overall points as the other positions. But you have to start at tight end, and having the best one available offers you a more significant advantage than you might think. Trade value 9, Chris Gray. Then Getty Images 12, Jordan Howard, RB, Chicago Bears 13, Lamar Miller, RB, Houston Texans 14, Mark Ingram, RB, New Orleans Saints 15, Devonta Freeman, RB, Atlanta Falcons 16, Carlos Hyde, RB, San Francisco 49ers 17, Doug Martin, RB, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 18, Mike Evans, WR, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 19, AJ Green, WR, Cincinnati Bengals. Some of the players in this tier are potentially heading in different directions. Miller is one of the boats rising alongside Watson's tide. Ingram has rushed for 294 yards and 4 touchdowns in the past 3 games, perhaps not coincidentally since Adrian Peterson was traded to Arizona. Both players have risen to this tier. Freeman, on the other hand, has gone a bit cold, failing to reach double-digit points since Atlanta's Week 5 bye. If Miller has benefited from Watson providing a jolt to Houston's offense, Freeman's fantasy struggles correspond with Atlanta's overall offensive woes. Still, the highs of Miller and Ingram don't quite consistently reach what the running backs in the higher tiers offer. And the lows of Freeman shouldn't relegate him to a lesser value tier at this point, either. Trade value 8, Elaine Thompson, Associated Press 20, Julio Jones, WR, Atlanta Falcons 21. Chris Hogan, WR, New England Patriots 22. Tyreek Hill, WR, Kansas City Chiefs 23, Jordy Nelson, WR, Green Bay Packers 24, Brandon Cooks, WR, New England Patriots 25, Michael Crabtree, WR, Oakland Raiders 26, Will Fuller, WR, Houston Texans 27, Dez Bryant, WR, Dallas Cowboys. Fuller is the hottest receiver in fantasy at the moment, surpassing even Hopkins. In the past 4 weeks, he's caught 13 passes for 279 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, yes, that touchdown production isn't sustainable. If he keeps this pace, he'll finish with 22 touchdown receptions in just 12 games. That probably isn't going to happen. But Fuller is a heck of a deep threat, and the Texans aren't afraid to let Watson sling it. So until Fuller stops producing, his value is going to be pretty damn high. He's an excellent sell-high candidate, but it's hard to imagine he won't remain in the WR2 conversation, at least, for the rest of the season. Trade value 7, Mark Tennelly, Associated Press 28, Tom Brady, QB, New England Patriots 29, Dak Prescott, QB, Dallas Cowboys 30, Alex Smith, QB, Kansas City Chiefs 31, Carson Wentz, QB, Philadelphia Eagles 32, Russell Wilson, QB, Seattle Seahawks 33, Travis Kelce, Kansas City Chiefs 34. Chris Thompson, RB, Washington. Thompson continues to confound me. He gets just 11.1 touches per game, yet he's turned that into 673 yards and 5 touchdowns. That means he's generating 1.1 fantasy points per touch. For comparison, Gurley is averaging 0.79 fantasy points per touch. Let's take it further. Last season's top fantasy running back, David Johnson, who had an epic season, averaged 0.87 fantasy points per touch. Are you starting to see why Thompson's rate of production is so surprising? It's unusual that a running back offers this level of efficiency, and it's why I continue having trouble believing Thompson should be able to sustain it. But 9 weeks into the season, well, he's sustained it. So, while I remain cautious, it's impossible to deny that Thompson is offering top fantasy value, remarkable as it seems. If Washington ever treated him like a feature back, he'd instantly ascend to one of the top 2 tiers on this list. Trade value 6, Tim Ireland, Associated Press 35. Cameron Brate, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 36. Jerick McKinnon, RB, Minnesota Vikings 37. Jay Ajayi, RB, Philadelphia Eagles 38. Alvin Kamara, RB, New Orleans Saints 39. Michael Thomas, WR, New Orleans Saints 40. Jarvis Landry, WR, Miami Dolphins 41. T.Y. Hilton, WR, Indianapolis Colts 42. Keenan Allen, WR, Los Angeles Chargers 43, Larry Fitzgerald, WR, Arizona Cardinals 44, Nelson Agholor, WR, Philadelphia Eagles 45, Kelvin Benjamin, WR, Buffalo Bills 46, Doug Baldwin, WR, Seattle Seahawks 47, Amari Cooper, WR, Oakland Raiders 48, Stephon Diggs, WR, Minnesota Vikings. Let's talk Ajayi. On one hand, leaving Miami's impotent offense should only benefit him, especially since he's coming to an Eagles team that is fifth in rushing yards per game. On the other hand, there is certainly some uncertainty as to what his precise role in Philly will be. LeGarrette Blount has been really good for the Eagles, averaging a cool 4.7 yards per carry. Interestingly, however, the Eagles are handing him just 12.5 carries per game. Blount is 30 and carried the ball 299 times for the New England Patriots, so it would appear the Eagles are limiting his usage to keep him fresh. That means Blount potentially isn't a major threat to eat into Ajayi's workload. The Eagles can utilize Ajayi as a bit more of a feature back, with Blount handling more short yardage duties and a role he's played a lot this season, steamrolling a wear-down defense in the fourth quarter. In that regard, there is reason to believe that an Ajayi and Blount pairing shouldn't necessarily tank either player's fantasy value. In the case of Ajayi, he should see his value receive a positive bump. As for Benjamin, well, Tyrod Taylor isn't an upgrade on Cam Newton, though he should serve as the team's top option in the passing game. Expect his value to remain about the same or dip slightly. Trade value 5 Mark 10 Associated Press 49, Drew Brees, QB, New Orleans Saints 50, Cam Newton, QB, Carolina Panthers 51. Kirk Cousins, QB, Washington 52, Adrian Peterson, RB, Arizona Cardinals 53, DeMarco Murray, RB, Tennessee Titans 54, Duke Johnson, RB, Cleveland Browns 55, Tevin Coleman, RB, Atlanta Falcons 56. C.J. Anderson, RB, Denver Broncos 57. Frank Gore, RB, Indianapolis Colts 58, Jimmy Graham, Tay, Seattle Seahawks 59, Evan Engram, Tay, New York Giants 60, Aaron Jones, RB, Green Bay Packers 61. Alfred Morris, RB, Dallas Cowboys. Welcome to Fantasy Relevance, Mr. Morris. John Machoda at John Machoda. Jerry Jones on at 10:53. The fan said Alfred Morris will get more carries but Darren McFadden and Rod Smith will get more work. 220171031134553. Morris isn't overly talented, and Darren McFadden will eat into his touches. But Morris instantly enters the flex conversation amidst Elliott's suspension and is a player that shouldn't come cheap if you failed to handcuff Elliott earlier in the season. Trade value 4 Gregory Shamuskati. Images 62. Charles Clay, Tay, Buffalo Bills 63. Devont Adams, WR, Green Bay Packers 64. Juju Smith-Schuster, WR, Pittsburgh Steelers 65. Emmanuel Sanders, WR, Denver Broncos 66. Alshon Jeffrey, WR, Philadelphia Eagles 67. Golden Tate, WR, Detroit Lions 68. Demaryius Thomas, WR, Denver Broncos 69, Pierre Garçon, WR, San Francisco 49ers 70, Devin Funchess, WR, Carolina Panthers 71, Deshaun Jackson, WR, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 72. Adam Thielen, WR, Minnesota Vikings. We all want to ride Smith-Schuster's bicycle these days. The Pittsburgh wideout has been solid if unspectacular for most of the year before he exploded for 7 receptions, 193 yards and a score on Sunday. He should only continue to grow in the team's offense. And consider that in Pittsburgh's final 8 games, he faces 4 opponents ranked 13th or worse in fantasy points allowed to opposing wideouts per week. The Indianapolis Colts 5th in points allowed, Tennessee Titans 13th, Green Bay Packers 9th, and the New England Patriots 4th. If you were savvy enough to pick up Smith-Schuster, enjoy the ride. If you didn't, he's actually a buy low candidate given his enticing matchups down the stretch. Trade value 3 Tim Ireland, Associated Press 73. LeGarrette Blount, RB, Philadelphia Eagles 74. Christian McCaffrey, RB, Carolina Panthers 75. Joe Mixon, RB, Cincinnati Bengals 76. Javorius Allen, RB, Baltimore Ravens 77. Marshawn Lynch, RB, Oakland Raiders 78. Devontae Parker, WR, Miami Dolphins 79. Sterling Shepard, WR, New York Giants 80. Jameis Winston, QB, Tampa Bay Buccaneers 81. Phillip Rivers, QB, Los Angeles Chargers 82. Jordan Reed, Tay, Washington 83. Sammy Watkins, WR, Los Angeles Rams 84. Jacksonville Jaguars DST. I should probably give up on Reed and Watkins. The former has scored more than 5 fantasy points in a game just once this season. The latter has 5 receptions for 70 yards in his past 4 games. If they were less talented and had histories of horrid production, both players would be fantasy afterthoughts. But both are good players on offenses that have been decent this season. In Reed, you have a player who has proven to be one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL when healthy. In Watkins, you have an explosive playmaker who is on the NFL's number 2 team in points per game and number 9 team in yards per contest. There is upside with both, but they are running out of time to prove it to fantasy players. Oh, and the Jaguars' defense has legitimate fantasy value. They very rarely lay an egg, bolstered by a league-leading 33 sacks. Their 10 interceptions are tied for 3rd in the NFL and 5 fumble recoveries tied for 7th. Sacks and turnovers are a safe bet for consistent fantasy production. This defense is for real. Trade value to Todd Olszewski. Gadgety Images 85. Marvin Jones Jr., WR, Detroit Lions 86. Cooper Kupp, WR, Los Angeles Rams 87. Tariq Cohen, RB, Chicago Bears 88. Matt Forte, RB, New York Jets 89. Bilal Powell, RB, New York Jets 90. Amir Abdullah, RB, Detroit Lions 91. Hunter Henry, Tay, Los Angeles Chargers 92. Dion Lewis, RB, New England Patriots 93. Latavius Murray, RB, Minnesota Vikings 94. Isaiah Crowell, RB, Cleveland Browns 95. Jonathan Stewart, RB, Carolina Panthers 96. Orleans Darkwa, RB, New York Giants 97. Alex Collins, RB, Baltimore Ravens 98. Paul Richardson, WR, Seattle Seahawks 99. Jermaine Kearse, WR, New York Jets 100. Robbie Anderson, WR, New York Jets. Keep an eye on Collins. In Week 6, he rushed 15 times for 74 yards. Last week, he posted 18 rushes for 113 yards. Collins looks like the more dangerous and talented running back over Allen. He should see his workload increased, and thus, should see his fantasy value rise. All fantasy stats via Yahoo Sports.